I'm delighted to welcome you to the Apteco Global Launch. For those of you that don't know me, I'm James Alty. I'm the founder and managing director of Apteco. I'd like to welcome every one of you, both the people in the room here today and the hundreds of people that we have online on the live stream. Thank you very much for giving up your time to be part of our event. We appreciate that you've come here because we invited you and you've chosen to dedicate some of your time to our interests. So thank you very much, particularly the people who've made the effort to be here in person, but we will remember all of those hundreds of people online. If you are joining us online, your call is automatically muted, but you do have the Teams Q&A panel. Please use that to raise any questions or concerns. And we have a team in Warwick and people on site here in London who will manage your questions and indeed help you participate in the event. And if you are tweeting or posting about this event elsewhere, use #Apteco Global Launch, please. That will allow us to see your posts and tweets. So a little bit about our agenda. We are going to be together for about 90 minutes, plus or minus, depending on how many questions we get in the Q&A session. I'll do this quick introduction and then I'll talk about who are Apteco. Well, you may think I know full well who Apteco are. I've been to Apteco events, I enjoy them and look forward to them. But Apteco is changing as we grow, as we become more global, as we become more international. That is why we are here. And I'll tell you more about that as we go through the Why We're Here section. We'll then have a quick overview of the aspirations and capabilities of the Apteco marketing platform. That's from me. Before we start our global journey, we invited you to a global launch, and it truly will be a global journey with Apteco today as we learn about the application from end to end. In the second half of the session, I will do a live demonstration. We can't have a software company have a launch event without a live demo. You know me, I would talk my way out of a wet paper bag and probably do a demo on the way past as well. So I'm not going to turn up the chance to show what we have been working on for real. It's all very well to talk about the theory, but we're going to show you what is real, and that the whole of our topic today is real, it's delivered, it's now, and it's available. We'll then have a Q&A session with our panel members from around the globe. I'll introduce those panel speakers in a moment. Then I will take you through a little bit of Apteco's future, which is as an independent software business, but with a global scale and a roadmap of interesting topics. And we will then talk about where we will see you again. And we have an invitation for you to a number of different events, and hopefully you'll be able to join us. We aim to close at 4:30 or thereabouts in the UK, 5:30 in Europe, and obviously different times around the globe, depending where you are joining us from. And these are the people who will be speaking with me today. Some of them have got up early. Some of them have stayed up late because they are around the globe. We're going to welcome Aid Hewitt, our Managing Director from Apteco Australia, Mark Bile, one of our joint Managing Directors from Apteco Benelux, based in Delft. We will talk to Martin Clark, MD of our business in Germany, who's joining us live from Frankfurt, and then Matt Such, Technical Services Director of our newest business, Apteco Canada Inc. in Calgary. And you'll have to remember how the clock works to work out who stayed up late and who got up early, and there's still time to tell. So, a little bit about who are Apteco, and I'll just explain why we're talking about this, because in the audience today, we don't just have Apteco partners and Apteco customers. There are many of those, but we have prospective partners, prospective customers, journalists, industry analysts. We've even had competitors register to attend the event. And we thought, okay, well, fine, why not? We're publicising ourselves. You might as well come along and see what we are doing. So it's a slightly different audience than normal. And some of them are not yet as familiar with Apteco as our customers. And to tell a tale about who are Apteco, I thought I would delve back into the archive. And if I start you at the bottom left-hand corner, that's the oldest business card that I could find. I think it dates back to 1987 when I founded the business at the University of Warwick Science Park. And just to put it in perspective, look at the email address on that business card. It doesn't even have an @ sign in it. So our very first email address, I think on a system called Kix, was, well, you can see it, go2:aprosys-jcma, which is my initials. So that was my email identity way back in the day. In the middle at the top, you can see the older presentation at the International Direct Marketing Fair in Wembley. Hands up, those of you who are old enough to remember that. You can see, yes, several people do in the room. We've been doing this a long time, guys, haven't we? And you can see already back then, which I think is the early 90s, we'd picked the blue polo tops with the white Apteco logo. Actually, back then it was called the appropriate logo. But look at that marketing, ladies and gentlemen. We've got a brown placard with an abacus on it. And we've got some Victorian writing for the name Fast Stats. I don't quite know what we were doing. Anyway, by the middle bottom picture, we've got a little bit more slick. You can see a nice 3D bar chart and Fast Stats being promoted. And obviously, that's all rather ancient history, but that's where we started. 1987, I started the business in Warwick and at the Science Park. And since then, we've grown to 70 people worldwide. We operate in 5 markets, and we are going global. That's why we're here today. What we're best known for, of course, is the Apteco Marketing Suite. That suite of Windows applications primarily, starting with Designer to load data, and then Fast Stats for drag and drop analytics of data, People Stage for a zoomable UI for multi-stage, multi-channel campaign management, and then latterly Orbit arrived initially as an adjunct to Fast Stats and People Stage to do reporting, but we've moved it on and worked and worked and worked on it. And actually about, well, I dread to think how many years ago, I said it was going to take us 3 years to make Orbit truly compelling. So we were going to be usable, useful, and compelling. We're finally at the compelling stage. It's cost us millions of pounds and many years, many man-years of work to bring Orbit into centre stage. And that's part of what we are celebrating today. Orbit now is an end-to-end solution capable of delivering the whole Apteco marketing platform equation. And we're going to celebrate that with you during today. Now, if you're not one of our partners or customers, you may not be aware of the breadth of people that we deal with. But just to give you some idea, starting with automotive and then alphabetically through various sectors, these are the sort of businesses we deal with, where it's not-for-profit, financial services, insurance, or our new vertical, which is healthcare, where we're putting our technology to use in those sectors, through media and broadcasting into publishing and so on. And this is just a sample. This is those brands that have given us permission to list their logo on our website. And that is just the web page. It's public already. I just scrolled through it in the presentation to give you a flavour. We deal with big businesses. We deal with major brands. We deal with organisations who want to achieve the global current standard of marketing capability. And that, as I say, is just some of them. So why we're here? Well, I've alluded to it already. Why we're holding a global launch? It's because we've realised we're at a turning point for Apteco. We have capabilities. We have capabilities, for example, to do personalisation at scale. Not just any old perfect personalisation, but perfect personalisation at scale. So we now realise we can help companies all over the world, brands and organisations, scale how they personalise their communication. We realised we can help how those organisations democratise insight and deliver data into information, into insight, and share that across their whole organisation. So around the globe, we are going to be able to democratise insight in order that your marketing can achieve higher engagements, better retention, increased loyalty, faster donations, better gift values, whatever it is in your particular sector that you are achieving through communication with your marketplace. And all of that is so that our brands, our clients, our partners can grow their revenues. That's what it's about. Whether you are a charitable good cause, whether you are a finance house, whether you're a publishing business, a travel business, or any of those sectors that you saw on that scroll, we're helping you grow your revenue. And we will continue to do that and have new capabilities to do that worldwide. And to support that, we've had a slightly tongue-in-cheek program at Apteco to be more sassy. I don't think you would say that we were naturally a sassy business, but you can see that we've spelt it differently. Software as a service. And we've been working hard behind the scenes over some years, but latterly in the last 6 months since the Apteco Live conference, to be more sassy. And what has that delivered? Well, I'm going to take you through a few areas. First of all, if you're looking at our website, you'll see that last week we did an update to the homepage. We now have this lovely ambient video. We've got a new strapline. We've got new presentation. I'll leave you to go look at it in your own time. But a modern presentation of a tech business, describing readily and easily what we do, how our platform helps, and how we can allow our clients and our brands to grow their business. But just having active content on your website doesn't hack it. To be a SaaS business, you need an easy engagement route. That starts with trials, but includes pricing. And I'll talk about trials a bit later on. So now we have an engagement route online where you can choose one of 3 bundles. If you're a partner with us or a client, you probably know those bundles already. Selector, Analyzer and Predictor are the current bundles. What we've done is wrap them up and make them super accessible now through the site. You can choose the most popular one. That's what SaaS businesses do, isn't it? They show you this one's most popular. Feel safe choosing this option. Step 2, if you've chosen your analytics platform or bundle, you can then optionally add a multi-stage, multi-channel campaign bundle. Supercharge your marketing by choosing a campaign bundle. And again, we're showing pricing as a start point. So 2 users, small database, that gives you a start point for the Apteco bundle. And those of you who were with us at Apteco Live in November will remember the launch of Apteco Email. So step 3, you just slide the slider. You choose how many email credits do you need per month to send, and we'll give you a price. The top end will ask you to contact us, just like every other email service provider does. The difference here is completely wrapped in, built into your analytics and audience activation platform. You've got the email channel. So be more sassy. You can come to apteco.com and engage directly with us. But there's more to it than that. Because if we're going to recruit people from all over the world, they're probably not going to choose to travel to Warwick to sit in our beautiful training room and have training in person. So guess what? We've invested in a fantastic video training platform, and our aspiration is that it has the same quality and the same usability as Netflix. That's the consumer standards. That's what we've tried to hit to make sure that people can self-service training on demand, pay online from any country in the world, in any currency that they wish to transact in. We'll give you a price and you can access a training course. And those training courses are like this one shown in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. That's Ian, one of our trainers, in our new recording studio in Warwick, showing the software. You can see blue highlights on what he's training on. You can see him presenting the materials. You can stop it, you can start it, you can rewind it. We grant you access to that video for a prescribed period when you license a particular course. And you see lots of course content in the background video, in the background screenshot. So training self-service now rather than needing to come to Warwick. And frankly, we've run just a handful of in-person training courses in the last couple of years since COVID. Nobody is interested in coming to a training centre anymore. They all want training online, and now we've bottled it. We've put it into, bottled it in a good way rather than a bad way. We've wrapped it up in a bottle, and we can reuse it. So we are going to offer that online 24/7. And we just have been working with one of our biggest partners. They use a support team that includes staff in the Philippines. And guess what the guy from the Philippines said? Where is the self-service training? And we didn't have it at that point, and now we do. So we can help him more easily now. But It takes more than that again, because it's all very well having great technology, having great websites. You've got to have the commercials. That's not me doing those handstands, despite these polls looking surprisingly similar. But what we have worked on is the flexibility of our commercial models, the flexibility of how we license and price the application. We've got models that suit agencies and data owners and API authors and enterprises and charities and not-for-profit, for example. And we've done away with the horrors of the end user license agreement. How many of you have scrolled through a meaningless multi-page document about liabilities and warranties and copyrights, and you're probably not equipped and probably not authorized to accept those on behalf of your organization. And you scroll all the way to the bottom and you click OK. And you've almost certainly done it on the yeah, whatever basis, frankly. It's not really a meaningful legal agreement, is it? So we've reworked our entire legal structure. We've now got an Apteco software license that's signed by the client organization, and that covers warranties and liabilities and all the proper commitments that Apteco gives to our clients. But for the users, they just get a short list of bullet points, things that matter to them as an individual user that they can and cannot do with our software. So lots of flexibility in the commercial model, in a fixed structure, a level playing field for all our partners, and we will be engaging clients directly in order that we can feed them into our partner channel. So it's important that they all have the same structure. And that's the point here. We're here to help you grow. I've said it already about revenues, but we're here for our partners as well, to help you grow your use of the Apteco marketing platform. We're not turning to you and saying, please generate more leads. What we're saying is we will invest, we have invested, we will continue to support the brand and the platform worldwide, so that your skills and experience, if you're a partner with Apteco, can help you turn those engaged customers into enterprise scale clients of your organization. We will take them so far with our brand, but there's many, many things that we don't do, don't plan to do, and cannot do. The account management, the strategy, the data enrichment, that's just not our bag. That's for you guys to do. So we're going to help you grow. But we love working with our partners. Now, Simon Fletcher, our business development director, can't be here. He's hurt his back. But if you look at that guy in the middle, that's what Fletcher's like when we get a good lead from a partner or something goes on with our business development team. That's a day in the Apteco office working with our partners. We love you. We love our partners. And really our aim here is to deliver higher grade engagement for you, get more people aware of our brand worldwide so that you get the fantastic reaction with us. So while our business has been built on a channel, a regional channel business, we're going global, but we're going to pull our partner channel along with us. So there's a few announcements. We have some new stuff to talk to you about. Thank you for coming along. Hopefully these are going to be useful and interesting for you. So first of all, a software feature, and I'm not just going to announce a load of software features, but I've picked this one because I think it's truly substantive. We do research, I'll talk about this again later on, when we're deciding on features to work on. And we research the whole marketplace for customer journey workflow authoring tools, the sort of diagrams that you create to describe how a campaign should work. And they're all varied and interesting, but none of them, as far as we can find, have this capability, which is to break up your campaign into structured sections. Those sections can each be called whenever you need to in the campaign flow. So here we have two sections, a now in stock email section and a pre-order thanks section. Those sections can do a bit of your marketing process. They can use different channels, they can do different splits, they can direct people into other parts of the campaign. But the really beautiful elegance of campaign sections, you write them once, you put them in the campaign diagram once, you refer to them from wherever. So you don't end up with a great big spaghetti diagram of interconnected flows across your marketing campaign. You simply say, at this point, because you've responded, we're going to send you to the thank you email. And the thank you email can have all the proper validation, cost controls, budget control, the timetable, the scheduling. And at the moment, they are executed whenever you call them. But we're going to extend that so you can pause them, you can resume them, you can put constraints on them, for example. So you can say, I don't want this part of the flow to run until next season. You know, we'll collect people here, and when we get to the next season, then we'll run that part of the campaign flow. We'll show you this live, and we'll talk about it in our presentations during today. So I've picked that because I think it's a substantive feature that differentiates Apteco's campaign workflow. But we have some other topics to introduce. I'm delighted to introduce Apteco SMS. Alongside Apteco email, we now have the ability to send text messages. We have the ability to send text messages globally to almost every country in the world at local text message rate, whatever the local rate is in that particular country. And they're all different, but we can send the message into that country, pop it out of a telco across the air at local rate onto a handset. And that screenshot that you see there is a real one from the Apteco marketing platform template editor, or SMS template editor, where we were able to write the personalized content. You can see it's got a first name parameter in the top there with a default of hello, which is what we see in the preview. And that is live in Warwick at present. It will take us a few sprints to round it out and get all the commercials sorted out. And we recognized as we introduced Apteco email that some brands do email and SMS together. It's a known marketing practice where multi-channel can work very effectively together. So send an email and a text message. It's very personal. It's probably on a device that's with you all the time, high response rate, but high cost. So it's part of the marketing equation. And so we decided to add this alongside Apteco email and imagined, oh, you just put some numbers in and send them. It's not quite like that. There's countries that have legislation about who can send. So, for example, in the Philippines, you're not allowed to send as a local text message unless you have a business in the Philippines. In France, it's much more regulated than it is in the UK. In America, unbelievably, from our perspective, you have to pay to receive text messages. I was like, really? So, you know, there are different restrictions on them. We can help. We can help you with short codes, with alpha branding, with stop list handling, with reply handling, with shared replies. There's lots to it. And we can give you a very effective price, but not, let's be clear, a bargain basement price. We're not running a SIM farm and pumping text messages out like a spammer. That's not Apteco at all. It's a premium service for global reach for the brands that need it. Clearly, you can use it just in the UK or Germany or Benelux or wherever else you are operating a client. So I'm delighted to announce Apteco SMS. Now, I have a question for you. Who knows what that is? Someone got it. It's a Kiwi. The clue's in the name, ladies and gentlemen. I'm delighted to unveil, and this has been under wraps even inside Apteco, that we are creating Apteco New Zealand. It's our next market, the 6th market that we will be serving as Apteco in the Apteco group. And we have just agreed the formation of a company in New Zealand as an adjunct to our Australian business. So as some of you know, we've had a business in Australia for some years. We already have distribution into New Zealand, but now we're going to have an on-territory presence in New Zealand. And for those of you who are Aptecons, as we call ourselves, the members of Apteco, you know we already have a member of staff working in New Zealand. It has been the initiative to get us going with our next country. So we will be adding Apteco New Zealand to the mix. Now, let's have a quick look at why we thought we could go global. What is it that Apteco has got that allows us to go global? Well, we have the ability to connect data. We can connect data now through Orbit into the Apteco marketing platform in a variety of sources. It still has breadth to gain. We're working on it every sprint, adding to how you can feed data into Apteco Orbit. But in the example we're going to discuss today, we're loading data through S3 buckets. Those of you who are technical know that that's a way of sharing data from many sources into a bucket, and then Apteco can pick it up. So we have the ability in the Apteco platform to connect your data. We'll extend that. I'll talk about that more in our roadmap. So we can bring data in. What do we do with it? Well, we can generate insight. We have fantastic insight tools in the Apteco marketing platform. Many of you are already using the dashboarding tools, and you know the wide variety of visualizations techniques, for example. All of those are coming to audiences as well, so that you can bring that full screen, full tooling experience that an analyst to generate insight might use inside the Apteco marketing platform. And what do you do with that insight? Well, we can use it to help target lookalikes. As demonstrated at Apteco Live back in November, we've got a wrapped up, built into the product lookalike mechanism that can help you take your best target groups from your insight and find lookalikes from either your own first-party data or third-party data that you've overlaid onto. So targeting lookalikes is in there. And once you've done that targeting, you can automate audience activation. Now, not long ago, I'd have said you can run a campaign, but we've realized that Apteco can reach more widely than that. Audiences have a wider scope than just direct communication. For example, it's now perfectly sensible in Apteco, in our marketing technology, to use first-party data to prepare audiences that are uploaded constantly, continuously, for your ad tech colleagues, so that the people running the advertising spend for your brand or your client brands, if you're a partner, can now pick up either the existing first-party data or the lookalikes on the ad platform to that lookalike data and use it for the recurring or tactical ad activity. So Apteco will help you spread from marketing tech to advertising tech in the same environment. And the power is the first-party data that our technology manages for you. We've got hold of that data, we can understand it, we can interrogate it, we can find lookalikes from it, and we can then help you go find further lookalikes for acquisition activity in your advertising platforms. And watch this space for us spreading our wings into ad tech. We're looking at how do we reach all those different ad platforms, whether it's sites or out of home or connected devices, connected TVs. We're going to drive that with the capabilities of using the first-party data to reach those platforms. We're already in discussion with one of the aggregators of that type of activity. And that brings us to closing the loop, because it's important with all those different channels, all those different capabilities, that we can close the loop both in terms of data and in insight and in understanding, so that back into the Apteco marketing platform, you can measure the results of what you have done and what you are doing. So part of the roadmap that we'll talk about later on is improving how we close that loop, improving how we can give you surety in our platform that you understand which campaigns are working, which ones are hitting their objectives, which goals have been met by what proportion of people, and is that on plan for the target that your management team set you for the whole of the year. Middle of May, how are we doing? Well, Apteco could tell you that if you know the right questions to ask right now. We're going to make that much easier to wrap up, to report on, and to see how are your campaign targeting activities actually delivering. So closing the loop on our marketing. And that's all powered by our constant development. I have the privilege today to stand up front, but I'm representing 70 people and our fantastic development team. It's actually 3 separate product teams who do the development work, and we've had the most outstanding feature flow in the last 6 months since Apteco Live, where we got the buzz of everyone's positive reaction to Orbit and its capabilities. We've really been charging along. I think today you'll be impressed with where we have got the platform to, but that's just the start. As we go global Apteco, we're going to keep going with that constant development. Every 2 weeks, we do a sprint update onto the web product. Every 3 months, we update the back end and the Windows products, and that's part of what we offer. And of course, To be a SaaS business, we need to be able to house the data for you. We need to be able to look after it automatically. And you already have the choice of 2 data centers in the EU and 1 in Australia. So if you are UK, Ireland based, you're probably going to put the data into the Ireland data center. If you're German, Benelux, DACH market based, you're probably going to put it in the data center in Germany. If you're Australia, New Zealand based, probably put it in Australia. But our commitment is, if you need data in a different jurisdiction, we can create new data center instances for you. So if somebody comes to us and says we need a UK data center because we want to keep the data in the UK jurisdiction, we will do that as part of Apteco Cloud. So we can house that data wherever you wish. And we can commission those systems in minutes now. We know that we can commission a system and have the end-to-end capability available for you without human intervention. You know, at the moment we do actually push the button to say go, but then we can leave it to it, and we get a campaign-enabled system out of the box. And that allows us to deliver this lovely circular equation. So if you start on the left-hand side with connecting data, data is used through analysis to produce insights. The insights are then used for targeting, which produces actions. Those actions are used in campaigns that produce outcomes, and those outcomes, of course, can be represented as data, which goes back into the connection, back into the Apteco data store, and fuels and powers the next iteration around that virtuous circle. All around a single individual, understanding that individual and helping ensure that we have perfect personalization for that person. So that's our challenge. Now, we invited you to a global launch. It's only going to be global when we introduce our speakers from around the world. So let's get ready to start a journey around the world, and a journey from Apteco end to end. But to do so, we need to tell a little story, a story of an example brand. How many of you have said, is it Apteco or is it Apteco? So Apteco on the left-hand side is a real software company that produces fantastic targeting software. It's powerful, it does campaign management. Apteco is our alter ego. It's completely fictitious. It's a retailer that sells mobile phones and tablets. It has a CRM system and some e-commerce data. And Apteco, excuse the slightly corny pun on our name, is the brand that we're going to examine as we set off around the world. And it's the story that we will tell from different parts of the world. We're going to start in Australia, where Aid will tell us about how we get data into the product. So, Aid, over to you in Australia.
Well, thanks, James. Good day, folks, and greetings from Australia. I'm Aid Ewart, and I manage our ANZ operations from Sydney, Australia. I'm going to talk to you about how you can connect your data with Apteco to create a scalable, flexible, and powerful solution that will transform the way that you can view your data. For today's purposes, I'm going to take you through 5 basic steps that will allow you to import your information. Connecting to data sources, ingesting the information, defining the data variables, designing the data relationships, and then automating and scheduling the Apteco build. We have this beautiful schematic that shows the Apteco data flow and how you can use that to put insight into action. Going from left to right, on the left-hand side, we can see our ability to pull in information from disparate data sources. That could be information from your POS financial data, your CRM, web tracking data, or inbound and outbound communications. All of that information can be pulled together in the center to create a holistic view of your customers that your end users can then analyze and create insights, and use those insights to orchestrate multi-stage campaigns that in turn can be used to drive omni-channel communication pieces on the right-hand side of the diagram. As those communication pieces are received by the recipients, the interactions will come automatically back through to the Apteco system, allowing your end users to understand within moments of them interacting how that campaign is actually starting to perform. Now, throughout today, we will be talking about Apteco as a SaaS environment. But one of the things I want to accentuate is the fact that Apteco and everything we're talking about today can also be installed either on-premise or in your own private cloud. And that really depends on your own security requirements. But today, I'm going to focus purely on the Connect area and how we can bring in that information from disparate data sources. And we have two main ways of doing that. First, we can integrate with third-party applications, and we can do that in a fully automated process. Salesforce is a great example of that. A Salesforce end user can go into the Salesforce App Exchange, and with a few clicks of a button, they can define the data tables and the attributes they want to incorporate into an Apteco system. The Apteco system will automatically spin up, and that will be a dedicated instance to them where their data is represented within the system, and at the same time the system will build some standardized dashboards giving the end users the ability to start doing some analysis across that data. But really today I'm going to focus on the manual process. We're going to look at the connect, the ingest, define, design and automate that you will use to bring in multiple data sources. The connect process, from a connection perspective, Apteco already integrates with multiple data sources, around about 30 in total. And that number is growing. And as you can imagine, those data sources incorporate very large volumes of data, very large granular volumes of data. And Apteco is designed to ingest that information. The Apteco database engine is its own proprietary database engine. And it's capable of processing large volumes of information. And it's designed specifically to allow an end user to do analysis and build beautiful models across that granular data and do it very quickly. For each of those data tables that are being imported, you have the ability to schedule when the import process will happen, depending upon the volatility of the information. And by that I mean the recency or the frequency with which that information is updated. So if the tables are updated on a regular, very frequent basis, you can schedule the updates to happen on a frequent basis. If it's not so frequent, then you can schedule it to happen less frequently. And you've got various options, as you can see from that schematic there or from the slide, that show you the options that are available to you. On top of that, we're also able to import deltas. So that means that rather than importing all of the information, we can just import that information that has changed or information that is new. Defining your data attributes is a key component to the data import process. Many data sources will have information stored within them that is depicted in a way that may not be familiar to somebody who isn't familiar with those data systems. For example, some of the names may be abbreviated or shortened, or they might even be meaningless. Part of our data import process allows us to take those attributes and give them more meaningful names so that when an end user, somebody who isn't familiar with the data system or somebody who may not be familiar with data structures, they can use those meaningful names to then run analysis across it. At the same time as defining the variables, we can actually specify what type of variable they are. So a currency, a numeric, a date, or a date time are just some of the examples of the way we can express the variable. Then within the data itself, we might find that some of the information is represented by a code rather than a description. And some examples of that would be a product SKU or a store code. As part of the import process, we can redefine that. So the product SKU has a product name associated with it. The store code has a store name associated with it. And the objective here is try and present the end user with a data presentation layer that is easy to interpret and understand. Interpret and understand. So that when they're doing analysis, they aren't distracted by obscure names that may be meaningless to them. They can actually just get in there and get on with the work. This data presentation layer and the ability to understand the information is enhanced by the flexibility of our data model. As I mentioned earlier, Apteco uses its own proprietary database engine, but that database engine doesn't have a rigid data structure associated with it. So we don't try and force organizations to shoehorn their data into a data structure that isn't really representative of their own information. And that has two benefits. The first benefit is that it means that you can add new attributes very simply. And that could be an attribute, it could be a table, or it could be a new data source. The second benefit comes back to the presentation layer, because what that allows you to do is when you're pulling all those information sets from disparate data sources, you can start to collate it in a more meaningful way. And what we have here is a visualization of the data relationships in our fictitious organization, Apteco. And down that center column there, we can see contacts, which is the customers, and those customers have placed orders and there are services associated with those orders. But just looking at that contacts table in its own right is pulling information from disparate data sources that are relevant to that to the customer. And when an end user wants to do analysis about the customer, they really want to go to one place to be able to find all that information. Now, the Apteco build can be scheduled at a frequency that is convenient and convenient to the end user. More importantly, the whole build process happens in an offline environment. The online environment is retained or reserved for the end user. So you go onto a system, you can run analysis on it, you can develop your campaigns. And the data build process is happening in the background. Now, there are two advantages to that. The first advantage is that the end user isn't hampered by the knowledge that the systems are building in the background, so they don't have to stop work. The second advantage is that if we run into any inconsistencies as part of the data validation process when we're doing the build, then the build could be halted or the adjustments could be made to that before it's actually deployed to the end user, ensuring that the end user always has access to the most accurate data that's available to them. And the overall objective? Well, it's to provide a holistic view to the end user so they can bring in all of that granular information representative of the interactions that they have with their customers from all of those disparate systems. And they have a powerful engine that they can use to perform analysis on it and build models that allow them to drive insight into action. And that kind of gives me a lovely segue into my colleague Mark, who's now going to run through the power of Apteco when it comes to doing analytics across your customer base.
Thank you, Aid. Now that the data has been successfully loaded all the way from down under, we will continue to the next phase of the end-to-end process, which will be the data democratization within an organization through Orbit dashboards in 5 simple steps. Defining a dashboard, this allows a user to limit the data that they want to look at that is relevant for them. Designing a dashboard is the organization of a dashboard. What will it look like, the structure, the organization, but also which visual, which visuals do you want to use that are most meaningful. These visuals, along with the tools within Orbit, will help create insights. And these insights you can share within the organization to licensed and unlicensed users. Finally, when you've targeted an audience, you can send this directly into campaigns within Orbit or to another downstream channel. My name is Mark Bijl. I'm Managing Director of Apteco Benelux, based in Rotterdam, the Netherlands. Circling back to the earlier slide that Aid presented, we are now moving from his side, the data, into the central part where you see the 2 brain hemispheres. I'm going to be focusing on the left side, the analytics side of the brain, where we will use the power of Orbit dashboards to change data into information and information into insights. Now remember, we're doing this all on the same data ecosystem and within the same user interface. Defining a dashboard is important. We do this to suit the user that it will be serving. And users can do this without the help of an IT department, without aggregating data any further. Simple and intuitive. Looking at personas, for example, Daniel here, he might want to have access to the entire data, the historic and the current data, in order to make models or to create meaningful business insights for his management. Looking at Rachel, the marketeer, she might want to know more current data, such as who are the current web visits, how many are there, what is the how many leads have been coming through the website, and how many of those are marketing qualified, or how her costs against her budget. Simon will want a piece of that as well, because Simon will be looking at those leads and seeing if they are sales qualified leads, but he will also perhaps want to know what else is in the pipeline, or how many orders there have been, or how he is doing performance-wise compared to last year, he and his team. We have here Liam, the digital marketeer, who finds himself in the digital space or in the social media space and might be more interested in things such as engagement, or how many followers there are, or how many likes there were on a post. Finally, we look at Catherine, the campaign manager, who will be interested in cost per lead, or how many views there were, or how many, unfortunately, unsubscribes there have been in a certain campaign. Moving to the second part, we now go to the design and structure of a dashboard, and we use this again to organize the dashboard. Here we can make use of the 30 visuals that Orbit has built in. These are visuals that can be chosen by the designer of the dashboard, and they can choose the ones that are will most appropriately display the data that they're trying to show. We have the pies, of course, and the stack bars. We have the line charts and the maps, and of course we have our famous Venn diagram hidden there a little bit on the bottom. Dashboards could also be divided into tiles, so they can be segmented, so certain data that belongs together you can connect in a tile, but these tiles remain interactive with the other tiles on the dashboard, so it remains one dashboard, and anything you do on one tile can, if you choose to, have an interaction with data on another tile. So this allows for a lot of data to be displayed without a big clutter. Equally so, if we look at tiles and drill downs, we can choose to not only have one level on a tile, but multiple levels. So here we could choose to have a summary level of emails sent. So this is just saying this is how many emails sent compared to other channels. But we could choose to drill down on that single tile and see where the emails sent, on which campaign they were used. So here we can see the new store open where the most emails were used. Now this again helps to avoid clutter on your screen. You can get a lot more information and save some valuable screen retail space. Customizing the colors of the dashboard is useful because you can make a dashboard bespoke, recognizable, especially if you're going to be sharing it with other users that are maybe less familiar with the data. We can color code variables so that they are recognizable for users. If you have a certain color connected to a product within your company, then that immediately, of course, will stand out. You can even color or theme or brand an entire dashboard so that all the colors match the brand of your company or of your product or whatever you're trying to display in the dashboard. So very customizable in a very bespoke and beautiful way. Going to the insights now that we've designed and defined the dashboards, we go to actually creating insights, and we have some built-in tools that we can use, such as best next offer. So here we can see what someone bought before and others like her in this case bought, so we can offer them the same. These kind of insights can also help for cross-sell and upsell opportunities. Performance data can be displayed, so how we're doing according to target or according to ROI. We can help, number tiles can help show us how we're progressing according to what we're hoping to achieve or needing to achieve. All this is interactive, of course, so it's not a static dashboard. We can click down and see why it is as it is, or where we're running behind or ahead, hopefully. Freedom of exploration, you can see that all tiles are, as said, interactive. So we're able to click and slice and dice and interrogate the tiles and the data that is visible. But we can also, through the user filter, approach data that isn't necessarily loaded into a tile or displayed on a tile, perhaps because it's a one-off, or maybe it's not, it's a number, so it's not really that easy to display in the tile. But you can still approach that data through the user filter. Think of things such as date bands and information like that. So not limited to what we see on the dashboard. We can always go back to the data that Aid has loaded and re-interrogate it for more information, more insights. Built-in Pareto tool helps you to figure out what your best performing product is, or what your best customer, or which customers are providing you with the most turnover. So with the 80-20 rule, basically, so which customers provide you the most turnover. This would be a good one to use as an audience to later on in the presentation create lookalikes on, so we could find customers that look like these, perhaps in the lapsed area, to maybe reactivate them. More on that shortly. Before that, though, we look at sharing. So Orbit Dashboard allows easy sharing and easy collaboration within teams. You can easily decide if you want your Orbit to be editable by other team members. You can decide to share it with users, licensed users, but also unlicensed users. And unlicensed users can actually interact with the dashboard that you made, but they cannot extract data or edit it. So it would be informative but interactive, which is a nice feature, of course. And this is good for casual users again, and that comes back to the whole theming and making it readable for users that are not in data all day long. Circling back to the groups, or the targets, sorry, that we have identified. So in this case, the group that was providing us with the most turnover. It's maybe a little bit of a different graphic, but you get the idea. We select it, we can select it straight, we can make an audience. That audience we can, as simply as export data, an Excel if you like, you can send it to an FTP, you can send it to a downstream channel, but much more relevant, if of course, is to keep it within the end-to-end solution. So what we can do is send it over to Martin. Before we do that, of course, we could say, no, we were going to look for the lapsed customers that look like those customers, because we want to actually activate new ones, of course, or older ones in this case. So what we do is use the lookalike tool. In the lookalike tool, the word says it, the predictive weight of evidence model will look for first-party people in your database who look like whatever audience you've selected. You can influence this. It's not a black box. You can select the variables that can influence that weighing. But once that's been done, basically what will happen is that the system will pick out persons or people in your database that look like the ones that were in your previous audience. And what is nicer than to send that straight away into a campaign. And in this case, we would look at an emailing campaign or a multi-channel campaign. But before I steal all of Martin's thunder, I will take this campaign or this audience and send it over to you, Martin. Off you go. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mark. My name is Martin Clark, and I head up Apteco in the DACH or German-speaking region. And I'm going to talk about Orbit Campaign now. We've heard from Mark that insights are good, actionable insights are even better. Why is that? Actionable insights allow us to personalize our marketing communication at scale. And we know that this can have a positive benefit on the customer experience, which in turn allows us to increase our customer retention, our revenues, conversion rates, loyalty, and to even decrease costs, for example, customer acquisition costs. These all help deliver more profitable business outcomes, which is what it's all about. I'm now going to step through Orbit Campaign and what it can do for you. Activating your audiences, orchestrating with Journey Builder, reaching your target groups via multiple channels, delighting via personalization at scale, and automating your communications. So just to remind everyone where we are in the end-to-end Orbit process, so from data to insights to actions to outcomes, we are now focusing on the campaign part, so really sitting between your insights on the left-hand side and your customer touch points on the right-hand side. And I'm now going to talk about that area in more detail. So coming back to our fictitious Apteco, this is the campaign brief, so mobile phone launch campaign. I have an audience made up of multiple segments, so previous mobile buyers, tech alert sign-ups, lookalikes, we've heard about that from Mark. And I've got an initial early bird pre-order email that goes out to everyone. This includes special offers based on a tech-savvy and novice audience subsegment. And I want to treat the audiences differently. So those that have redeemed a voucher get a thank you message, those that haven't get a reminder, and then eventually everyone receives a now in stock email when I'm ready to ship my product. So we start off with the preparation for my audience activation. So in this case here, I can see my multiple segments, so mobile lookalikes, mobile customer base, and tech alert form base. They're inclusions, and I have an exclusion of the inactive base. An exclusion can also typically include something like permissions to make sure only people with a valid opt-in, for example, are included in your email campaign. I can then, let's say I'm a campaign user who didn't necessarily set up the audience in the first place. That was my analyst colleague doing that. I could take a peek at the audience, take a look at the rule behind it, so view audience details, or I can add a limit like I've done in this case. So for the mobile lookalike group, I add a limit of 2,000 to make sure I don't overwhelm my fulfillment. At the press of a button, I can then calculate, I can go from a gross audience count to a net audience count. And you can see that net number is much lower because I probably have people appearing multiple times in those segments, and I only want to communicate with them once in this campaign. So this is a really good example of how the complexity is hidden under the hood, so to speak, in Orbit, and the user is presented with a very simple and easy mechanism to do something that's relatively complex. And if you were a campaign manager with dozens of segments here, for example, this would save you an awful lot of time. So a fantastic mechanism to prepare your audiences for activation. Then we come to the journey builder itself. So here you see the different steps within my journey. They're color-coded, the icons. So at a glance, you can see the different stages. So your audience step, you're sending your email out, so the pre-release mobile, a time delay, and then an interaction split, and then further steps. So very easy to understand and to read. And we've worked really hard to make sure that the design of the campaign stays very clean and compact. Those of you that are familiar with campaign management will know that it's very easy to get kind of overlapping lines, and if you have steps that are repeated multiple times in the campaign, it can be quite confusing for someone else to read it. We've overcome this problem with what we think is a completely unique method in the marketplace, and that's to introduce what we call sections that are reusable processes via so-called path redirects. So for example, here I've got two on the left, so now in stock, email, and pre-order thank you. And these sections, if you like, can be referenced in multiple places. And this allows you a high level of consistency in how you want to communicate or carry out certain campaign steps, as well as efficiency. So you define them once and you can reuse them multiple times. So people can be redirected through these sections. So for example, here you see one, the now in stock email with these steps in it, and they can either exit, as in this case here, or they could redirect back to a different part of the campaign, or they could go back to an earlier part, so like a loop. A really powerful mechanism, we believe. So Apteco Orbit campaign supports many different channels, and you can see here a combination of channel genres, so like email. So for example, there we have over 25 external email integrations, Apteco email itself, which I'll talk about in a moment, and many other channels that push notification, SMS, Salesforce. We're a Salesforce partner, so we can take data from Sales Cloud, analyze it, push results back into the Sales Cloud, or even to the Marketing Cloud to broadcast emails. Meta ads, WhatsApp messages, LinkedIn. So a fantastic array of channels. And my colleague Matt will talk about some of those in a moment in more detail. This is all underpinned by an overarching contact history, so covering all these different channels. And this means that the customer services, for example, can know exactly who is in which campaign should someone call up. And also we can use this for analysis to make sure that, for example, to optimize our campaigns and to work out who responds well to which channels and communication formats or journeys. So again, a really important part of the solution. So we now come on to Apteco email. We have a beautiful editor and drag and drop editor here to allow you to create really stunning visualizations of templates. And you can see some of them here that we're using in this campaign. We support both marketing and transactional emails, and you can broadcast your emails directly, so to speak, from the Apteco Orbit platform. And we not only support the email builder, but also a form builder. So you can design opt-in forms, for example, for your tech alert sign up, as in the scenario today, or a newsletter. And you can design a double opt-in process to make sure that those opt-ins are validated. This, of course, is a fully responsive design, so we can check the layout. How does it look in a mobile, a desktop environment, or send an email to oneself with personalization in it, or to render the email across many different operating systems and hardware devices directly from the Orbit application. Personalization really lies at the heart of the Orbit campaign proposition. And here you can see I've added, for example, a discount and an experience level form of personalization. And I can also validate that the personalization I've set up in my email is actually being carried through from the data variables to ensure that you don't, for example, have empty spaces or fields going out into your email broadcast. We support many different types of personalization, so contact properties, and here we have conditional blocks, which can be, again, controlled by percentage splits or segment splits. So, for example, you may want a 50-50 random split between 5 and 10% discount. And in our case, we only want the novice experience level users to receive the free installation or free setup and app installation. So this allows you to create many variants, which you can then test to see which combination of content works best. Data variables are one of the most powerful forms of personalization we can offer. So here we see the best next offer. And by combining your first-party data with Apteco's predictive analytics methods, we can create very relevant and personalized data variables that can stream straight through into our emails or other channels that we may wish to use. And the marketeer's creativity can really run loose here. You can create, yes, let's say the calculation of the nearest store for all of your customers, or what's the most frequently purchased product from the past, or the most expensive product you bought in the past, and. So many opportunities here for personalization. So personalization at scale means a high degree of automation, which is something that is really built into the campaign proposition. So you can have splits, triggers, here, for example, an audience split or an interaction split based on clicks on links within an email. And this is a fantastic way of automating how people move through your journeys. And of course, a scheduler allows you to decide when you want that campaign to run on a one-off basis or on a repeated basis. And finally, the user can publish their campaigns live, and there you see a nice, clean, compact layout, and it's designed with ease of use in mind, so that, let's say, a colleague in the marketing department can cover for someone who's on holiday and easily pick up and understand what's going on in the campaign and take the necessary action. So really, that's what it's all about. It's about powerful functionality that doesn't overwhelm the user, and to creating very efficient, compact designs that allow you to personalize at scale through a whole host of channels in a highly automated fashion. So I'm now going to hand over to my colleague Matt in Canada. So I'm pointing to the west from Frankfurt all the way over to Canada, and he's going to talk about some of the new channels we've integrated in Apteco Orbit and some other topics. So over to you, Matt.
Thanks, Martin. I'm Matt Such. I'm the Technical Services Director at Apteco Canada, and I'm going to take you through social and beyond, continuing the journey with the social channels available in Orbit, for generating more leads with Meta Ads, personalised messaging with WhatsApp and the newly announced Apteco SMS, and the user permissions controlling what you can do in Orbit. And I'm going to finish with Apteco support. Revisiting our Insight into Action flow diagram, I'm going to focus on target engagement channels. Apteco can be the centre of your campaigning, with its direct connection to Meta for Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, its connection to Google for Google Ads and Google Analytics, and its connection to X, formerly known as Twitter, and LinkedIn. But what do I mean when I say we connect directly with Meta? Well, in your Orbit campaign, if you select a Meta Ads channel, then Orbit connects directly to Meta to your ads account to pull back all of your ad sets that are available. This means that once you've selected your ad set, you can simply select whether you want the target audience from Orbit, the target audience and Meta lookalikes, or perhaps just Meta lookalikes based on the target audience that you've uploaded. There's also the exclusion list, so you can ensure that contacts are not selected even by Meta lookalikes. You don't want to pay money to serve ads to current customers. Your MarTech team could have a fully automated scheduled campaign that feeds your ad tech team's social audiences and exclude audiences to update running ads or to simply have the audiences there ready and available to use as they need. Orbit also has preview functionality. This means that when you've selected your ad set, you can preview what the ad will look like to the end recipients, giving you the confidence that you've got the right ad for who you are targeting. All Orbit campaigns have monitoring to show you how your campaign is performing, but also you could build a dashboard, as Mark has shown, that has all your campaign results in one place. At a glance, you would know if your Meta ads are getting better responses than your Twitter ads. This insight into action will lead to where your future marketing budget is invested. And that connection to Meta, that's what also allows us to do WhatsApp messaging for personalized messages. If you were to select in Orbit a WhatsApp channel, then exactly the same as Meta ads, you'll be able to pull back all of your message templates from WhatsApp. And what's more, Orbit will then tell the user exactly what personalization that template is expecting. So you know if you need to add an image for your header, you know if you need to add a first name variable from your system so that it is all personalized. And just like Meta ads, we have the preview functionality so that you can see how it will appear to the end recipient. But what's more, with WhatsApp, you can even do a test send where you enter your own mobile number and that WhatsApp message is sent to you so that you can see it with the personalization to be absolutely confident that it is appearing how you expect it to appear. And Apteco SMS, announced today, is a standardized global pricing with 600 telco connections. We can supply SMS from any country to any country at a local rate. And just like Apteco email, you create your SMS template within Orbit and it's there. It's ready to go for you to use. And with all this great functionality, you need control. You need the ability to make sure that your users can only see what they are meant to see. A fully integrated enterprise-grade management system comes as standard with Orbit. You have the ability to affect what users can see, whether it's at system level, at group level, or individual level. Invite colleagues to share their audiences and dashboards and choose how they can interact with it. If you have multiple brands, then brand A can only see and use their resources. Brand B can only see and use theirs. But the account manager could be set up so that they have complete view of everything that's going on. And as well as having permissions, you also want the support, and Apteco is there for you. With its 24/5 critical cover and its global positioning, Apteco's technical services team have a world-class resources available to help you when you need it. If you have a campaign that simply has to go out, then there is always a member of staff at Apteco who is there to help you to make sure that your campaign gets out on time. And that just leaves me to hand you back over to James in London. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Matt. So we've had a quick tour around the world. Have you worked out who got up early and who stayed up late? You have to remember which way the globe spins. I'm going to do a quick live demo. Just aware of the time, I'm going to rattle along. So let's have a look at Orbit. So this is the Apteco marketing platform delivered through Orbit. And the first thing I'm going to do, this is our Apteco system. You can see the URL at the top there, running live in our EU1 data center, which is actually in Ireland. And there you go. That's not what I hoped to happen. Let's just give that a page refresh. It's been sat there for a while. See if, yeah, there you go. My browser had obviously lost the connection. So we have lots of data sources. I can pick any one of those. So we could have a look at a data source and we can see what's in it. So this is part of the definition. This one is coming in through an S3 bucket. We've got credentials to go get that data. We can see both the email and the hashed email. We might hash the email ourselves or receive it as hashed. Having defined the data sources, we can define the tables from those data sources, and that will include the variables down the left-hand side. We can see that same data, but now how we're going to declare it to the Apteco marketing platform. And then having defined the tables, and I apologize that I'm going to have to rattle along, we can declare the data view and the build, and there is that data model, actually slightly extended from the version that Aid had. We've now got 4 different tables, but you can see at the top the contacts table, central there the orders and the services, and equipped with addresses, emails and interactions. The interactions there is a placeholder for campaign history, and we now have the ability to bring the full campaign history back into this data model. You just declare the connection point. You don't need to declare all the tables. We'll create those automatically for you. Now at Apteco Live, I ran a build live on the stage. I'm not going to do that today. I've already loaded this data, and it delivers us back into this beautiful Orbit system. The Orbit system has this homepage. My user is an administrator, so I've got lots of controls like the email builder or feature controls. But we've got the main navigation devices across the top, the home, the dashboards, the audiences and the campaigns. And I'm going to just take you on a quick tour of some of the facilities the guys have picked out. So we might start with our data loaded. We might go and look at a dashboard. And here's my home dashboard. It's the one that Mark had in his presentation, and the important point is we introduced multi-tabbed dashboards. So you can see this first tab called Overview has counts and visualizations and a number of tabs we can scroll through. But you can have very different purposes for different users. So it might be that someone's looking at the spatial analysis. There are our existing 5 marketplaces for Apteco represented as maps. Now you might say I should use different sized tiles for different countries. Australia and Canada are a great deal bigger than the UK. But you get the idea. It gives us a presentation of the geographic distribution. And again, we're just working on this type of visualization, and we'll talk more about that in our roadmap. How about this? If you were a sales manager looking at the activity of Apteco, our fake retailer, we now have target tiles. So here we can see that mobile phone sales in the last year, £59 million. Great, fantastic business. 18% up on our target, which was 50 million. So in this case, we've got a fixed target. But oh dear, our profit on those mobile phones was £7.1 million, which is 10% below our target. So we've got nice green and red up and down indicators, and you can tell Orbit what sense each measure needs. You know, costs want to be lower, revenues want to be higher. We can color appropriately. We've got a new ROI card where you can identify the revenue and the investment that you've made, and we can see the return on that investment. In this case, mobile phones are giving us a minus 5% return. So that marketing effort is not working yet. Perhaps we should go and look at our campaigns for mobile phones. We'll do that in a minute. And here we see the sales over the last year, for example, a nice sort of spark line. If we look at tablets, they look rather more positive. Green on the sales, green on the profit, 10% positive ROI. You get the idea. Down here at the bottom of the screen, these are brand new, just arriving in the latest sprints. These are comparisons between this period and the same period last year. Brand new in the product, just in preview now. You can turn this on if you wish to. And I was preparing these tiles earlier on just to show the capability. And unfortunately, all of my measures came out negative across the bottom there. So clearly we need to improve the marketing for our Apteco fictitious business. But laptop sales compared to the last year, so this is this quarter to date, we've sold 3.39 million. That's 30% down on the same period last year. It was super easy for me to identify the date period. Orbit automatically went and found the same period last year, did the calculation for us, and we can see that last year, in the same quarter year to date, we sold 4.89 million. So a very different feel on that tab than perhaps on this tab. Maybe an analyst just wants to know how many marketable records we got. Very simple sort of counts on a layout of the data model. But maybe the marketing manager wants to know how much are we spending on marketing. So we can see again with targets, how much is our cost. In this case, our cost is well below our budget. Perhaps we haven't done enough mobile phone marketing yet. That's why our budget is still 96% remaining. Or a product manager might want to look at the product mix, for example, and if I chose to, I could go down here. We can see we've got product groups, mobile, remote, and I think it's called relax, different product groups. And as we all know, if you've used Apteco at all before, everything's interactive, so I can add that to the filter. Every tile on every tab will now refresh, but we do it in a really efficient manner. So the tabs are only refreshed when you go and visit them. But if I now, for example, went to visit the cohort tab, we see a data sample. You saw it query it because I've changed the filter on the dashboard. You saw it query it and went and got the cohort data sample who meet this particular filter. Let's use that cohort and create an audience of them. So I'll create an audience and I'll call these Apteco multi-buyers. A simple group, and I'm choosing the context. We can work on any data table. That's created the audience for me. Let's go have a look at it. There it is. We can see the rule, mobile phones, desktops, and various other devices. We've got the 1,100 people that were in that central area of the Venn diagram. But this audience area is multi-tabbed again, so I can choose various different resources. Now, the basic solutions are across the top here, but I've made some favorites. So, for example, I could say, just give me a check of my audience, and it will go and find some predetermined measures to show us both charts and data. I could say, for example, that I just want to browse some of that data. So let's have a look at it, and it will go and get, again, some prescribed columns for me, nice and quick and easy. I might want to do some analysis on it, and I could define it using the base tool, and you'll see more of this tooling coming in over the sprints to come. But again, I've just prepared some audience analysis settings or a favorite, and there's a multi-measure, multi-dimension cube with thematic shading on it, showing us where the value is in those particular intersections between category and status. And I've demoed these types of mechanisms before, but if you're new to Apteco, it is that easy to go get that data. And guess what? I can pick on these categories and choose the bits. In fact, well, let's pick the darker green bits. You can see I've now got 5 items selected. I can create an audience, and these could be my multi-buyer manual subset, and I can create that audience. Now, it would automatically swap to that group, and I can, it's offering me to save or not the ones that I've already got. Let's stay and save. In fact, I'm going to stay but not bothering saving, because I can actually go over here to my unsaved manual buyer subset. In fact, sorry, I do need to save it. Let's hit the save button, and now I can go over to my manual buyer subset, and there's the rule that we've now written. We didn't have to write that by hand. We did it all visually. It was that easy to go and get to. Let's get back to our Apteco multi-buyers, so the original group I took from the dashboard, and I'm going to add a lookalike audience. So let's add lookalikes. I'll call these my Apteco multi-buyer lookalikes, excuse the abbreviation for time. And I can choose which variables I want to use to search for lookalikes. I'm going to allow it to use all of them, because I can, and it's quick enough, and this is running live on Apteco Cloud in a data center in Ireland, connected across the net. I'm using it here on a nice wired connection, but on the train down this morning, Mel was using Orbit tethered to her mobile phone on the train. You really can do that. The bandwidth is not that significant that we need it. So let's just choose which variables. In fact, I'll have all 3 predictive variables. You can see sessions on this. Let's just save my changes. And I have a choice of 2 options. Do I just want to create an audience with a specific number, or do I want to create a rule to go and find more? Let's, of these lookalikes, let's just create an audience, and I'll call these my Apteco multi-buyer lookalike audience. You can see why I abbreviated it now, can't you? How many do I want? Well, let's have 100,000 of those, and we'll create that audience. So now the Apteco platform has gone, found that audience nice and quickly. It's ready for us. I can view that audience. There it is. You can see it's as yet unsaved. It's a lookalike audience. It's got 100,000 people in it because we limited it to the top 100,000 by the score that we just created. That score was just made live in front of your very eyes. It's that easy. Why would I create lookalikes? Because I might want to go and use them in a campaign. So just in our very quick whistle-stop tour, here's our campaign area with a typical mix of live but paused campaigns, live and running successful campaigns, draft campaigns, all available to us, and lots of mechanisms for filtering all of this. Do you remember I joked that we maybe ought to do some more marketing around our mobile phone? Well, here's a campaign one of my colleagues drafted. You've seen it already on the screenshots. And let's just say we're going to edit it. We do allow multiple editors to contribute, but not at the same time. We will carefully manage that for you. And here, if I click on that, you can see, as Martin showed earlier, for example, we've got some lookalikes. We've got the count of those lookalikes. We've got some exclusions. We've got the net counts that he talked about. If I just cancel that, if we go look at the email, we're using Apteco email in this case, and I can go look at the template. So let's just edit the template. And this is integrated into Orbit. Here's our template editor. This is the email that we had on the screen earlier. Just drawing it. There you go. Look what's about to land. The latest new Apteco mobile phone is about to land. We've got some personalization around the first name. We've got some lovely content. We can manage that all in the image gallery. We've got some conditional blocks. So here the pre-order discount is being controlled by the discount variable and the code discount B, or this one is discount A, and I think we had a novice user category, so novices get a free app setup. So a lovely drag and drop template editor. You saw me demo it at the conference. I'm not going to do more with that now, but look over here. We can see that a required content field is missing. Orbit has noticed that that template needs a field, and we can fill that in. Its first name. Do we want to add it automatically? Yes, we do. So I can add it. It's now been added. There's the field, and I can choose to define that by editing it. I can say I actually want to populate it with a variable to fill in the template called first name, and I'm going to put in place my variable from my data set, and it happens to be called slightly differently first space name. So I can populate that into the data. We're now making sure that we've got the right parameters going in there. It's not actually my campaign, so I'm going to cancel that change. But down here you can see a time delay of a week and then an interaction split. So a week after sending the email, we judge, did they unsubscribe, in which case we'll end the campaign. Did they bounce? We'll end the campaign. They click. Oh, they clicked. Did they redeem the code? We offer them a redemption code. If they did, we're going to send them to our first campaign section. They're going to go to the pre-order thanks section. And it's this easy. With this path redirect, I can just hit the arrow and it will take me to the pre-order thanks section, which I can open up. And in this illustration, they are just simple one-step, one-channel sections, but they can be as big and powerful as the main campaign diagram. And in due course, as I said, we'll give them schedules, pause, resume, budget, communication constraints, all that you have on there. That campaign is also following everyone else. If they didn't redeem the code, but they did click, send them another email saying there's still time. And if they didn't eventually redeem it, we'll go to the now in stock email, which is also sent up here to the people, linked up here to the people who never engaged to start with. And you can see the benefit already. We've got 2 references to each of those 2 sections, and I can just navigate to them by hitting the arrow and go and see that that is also a simple one-step, one-channel campaign. But imagine some months down the line, we'll be giving you the ability to say, this is a goal, this is how to measure the revenue, this is how to report on this goal or this objective of the campaign. So we see campaign sections not only as useful in the flow of a campaign, but to give you controlled endpoints for that campaign. I'm just going to highlight one other area in here. If I go back, I'm going to choose one of our multi-channel campaigns. This is a WhatsApp campaign. I just want to mention in here, if I just edit this, you'll be able to see it more easily. If I go to this WhatsApp message, you'll see a little progress bar, and this is new. We're now doing UTM tracking on WhatsApp messages. So we can put the standard 3 source, medium, and campaign tracking codes onto the WhatsApp links so that you can measure it in Google Analytics like the whole world does, and you can see how your Apteco campaigns are doing that. We put those codes automatically onto Apteco email links already. Now we're putting them onto WhatsApp links. And finally, just in here, let's go look at the template builder. Lovely dialogues to get into the email builder I've already shown you, but we can go look at the form builder. This is new, so you can now run forms on your Apteco platform, deploy them wherever you wish. Let's just actually go get our marketing forms because they'll be more interesting. There's a form. If I just press edit, that's the structure. When it refreshes, that's the structure of the tech alert group that we saw earlier. So if you want to do a little bit of data capture to feed your Apteco platform, you can now design a form in the platform, deploy it wherever you wish. We give you the embed code. You just copy and paste it into your CMS, use it wherever you wish to, and we'll capture that data for you. And then, actually, sorry, I came all the way out. Let's just go back here. The brand new, announced today, SMS Builder. That is the text that my colleague Liz, one of our product manager, and incidentally it's her birthday today, but we decided not to sing a happy birthday because she thought it would be too embarrassing. But she wrote that text to do the screenshot that I used in my slides earlier. That's it, live in the software. And watch out. In the sprints to come, we'll be updating this, putting it in your hands so that you can send SMSs inside the application. Right, I think that's given you enough of a flavour that it's real, it's here, it's now, and you can do all of this at the push of a button on Apteco Cloud. So, with time in mind, let's come back to proceed through our agenda, except in the best tradition of tech demos, I have one more thing. One more thing, which is perhaps the biggest announcement of what we've worked on in the last 6 months. One more thing for you to think how it will change your day. One more thing to think about what Apteco is going to do as it goes global. And that one more thing is this little button. Apteco AI. You couldn't come to a tech event without somebody talking about AI. At our conference in November, I went out and said, Apteco is going to take responsibility for our partners, for our clients, for their brands, and for their staff to find out how AI, particularly generative AI, can be used in a safe, constructive, practical manner. Our teams were a bit, whoa, what? You said what? Why did you say that? I said it because the world changed when ChatGPT came out, and we've really bought into it. Our teams have really bought into it. Some of them are at the back of the room today. And what I'm going to show you now is not live on my machine. Everything I've shown you previously was live, running in Apteco Cloud. This is only running in the development workbench. But this will give you an inkling of what Apteco will deliver in the Apteco AI Assistant in the next 6 months. We're going to have this ready for our conference in November. the Apteco AI assistant. So let's just watch a little story unfold. And if you watch the mouse, it's fairly small. And as in all good AI demos, the button is an assistant in the bottom right-hand corner, because they always are. So that's where we put ours. So let's watch as our colleague Aaron drives the AI assistant. So first of all, he gets a hi Aaron. He says hello to the AI assistant. It replies politely. This is all real replies. It says, what is Orbit? The first question, in other words, is about the platform. And the AI has ingested our documentation and our training materials in order to describe what the Orbit platform is. Then tell me more about dashboards. It's given us more detail from the help, from the documentation about dashboards. Now we're asking how to use a dashboard. How do we do a filter on a dashboard? And it can tell us in beautifully presented text how you filter on a dashboard, the various different elements, dashboard filters, user filters, tile filters. And then it says, oh, then Aaron said, does Orbit support multi-stage campaigning? Hell yeah, we do. And it tells us, yes, we can see that we've got Orbit. So all of this is about guiding us in what the application can do. But look at this. He says, I have people and booking tables. They're on that dashboard. What other tables do I have? So now the Apteco generative AI assistant is looking at the AI, the Apteco data, and it tells us we've got those tables. And what variables are there on the households table? And it tells us it's an intentionally cut down system. It's telling us what variables there are. And what categories are there in the region. So at this point, the AI assistant is not reading help text, it's looking at the Apteco data. It's understanding the Apteco data model and telling the user more about that. It then says, what variables are there on the people table? So again, we have a simple cut down set of variables. And now look at this, create me an audience of people from Yorkshire who earn less than the median income of the UK. Off we go, AI assistant, we ask, it does it, it's getting the variables, watch the main screen, you'll see I'm creating an audience for you, and that was real. That created an audience. The user didn't have to choose the variables, choose the categories, create the and between them. The AI assistant did it from them. It now says remove anything above 50K for income. So it's gone to look at the income, and now Aaron actually opened it to check that it had done it. So that's better. Rename the audience. Watch the top left-hand corner. Rename the audience. Bingo, it's done it. Shall we give Aaron and the Analyze team a round of applause for that fantastic demo? So we're not quite ready to take it out on the road, but that is real. That's the future. That's how people expect to interact with systems and with technology. My goddaughter is doing her finals at Warwick University in engineering. She's been in our office using it as a nice place to revise for her exams. And you watch a young person like that, their expectation of AI is absolutely through and through. And you know what? In a month or two, she's going to be applying for jobs. And she's going to look at old people like all of us, well, me particularly, and think, don't you get it? And the answer is, yeah, we do get it. We got it in November. We get it even more now. We're enthused, we're engaged, we're really knowledgeable now about how AI has changed the world, how AI is changing this sort of system. But you might be there worried. You might be there thinking, it's all very nice, James, safe demo. What about some of the things that we know can go wrong? Well, our team have researched those. We've understood those and we've addressed those. Let me just talk you through some of them. What about the fear that AI can give hallucinations, incorrect results, things that are just dreamt up? You've all heard about them in the news. Well, we mitigate that because all of the numerics, all of the data structures, all of the things to do with precision come from the Apteco engine, not from the large language model. So we're doing the heavy lifting of the data. We're not uploading that data and saying to a textual engine, think about these numbers, because it's no good at it. We're good at that. It's good at the chat, the bit that's the interaction, the context, the prompt, and all of that. So we've engineered our AI assistant to use our own data engine and all the numeric results it can produce. You might also be worried about privacy and data security. How is your precious first-party customer data going to be used? Well, the answer is we isolate it. We're using isolated instances of the OpenAI model implemented on Azure that we control and which do not get trained or use your customer data in any way other than for answering your prompt and the response. So we upload the prompt, the context, and we get the response back, but it doesn't learn from that interaction at all. We hold the conversation, we hold the history, so that it's safe within your Apteco system, and then we put the question up to that. So let me say it again. It's an isolated instance on Azure of the OpenAI model, and we manage the numeric data, we manage that isolated instance. We are sharing that, but it's sequential. So our systems will use that isolated instance, but no interaction between data sets between different customers. And you might have heard of AI producing hate speech or harmful content or inappropriate material, really breaking the rules of the norms of human communication. So how do we address that? Well, we mitigated that by using independent filters implemented on Azure in multiple languages to protect from hate speech or inappropriate content. So we obviously allow free reign of the questions you ask. It's completely free, but if you ask inappropriate questions or the AI generates inappropriate responses, they will be filtered. They will not proceed. And Aaron was joking outside a bit earlier that he'd had to summon up the courage to type something rather controversial into the AI to test. How do you test that? I mean, our test team are going to have fun, aren't they? Think of a few bad words and type those in. Who knows? It literally is a new world, isn't it, that we've all got to get used to. But we already have a paper on how we mitigate the risks of AI in this type of operation. Come and talk to us. We'll keep you in touch. And we expect to deliver version 1 of the AI assistant by the time of our conference in November. We have it up and running in Warwick. We'll let it out the door later in the year. So we've got to the point where we are going to reintroduce our 4 speakers. Let's just see if we can bring them up on screen, please. Well, hey, there they are, all looking wide awake. Well done, guys. Some of us might have worked out who got up early and who stayed up late. Now, top left, we have Aid from Apteco Australia. Top right, we've got Martin from Apteco Germany. Bottom left, we've got Matt from Apteco Canada in Calgary. Bottom right, we've got Mark from Apteco Benelux in Rotterdam. So hopefully you can hear us. We should be able to hear you. And I'm going to in fact, I'll show you one fun bit of tech. Anyone know what one of these is? It's called a catch box. It's got a microphone in it, and it's soft enough that I can chuck it at you. I might hand it to you, frankly, but the idea is if you have a question in the room, I can throw this to you and you can ask your question. As I said earlier, we do have teams in Warwick, and hopefully Joe is here. Yes, I can see him, and he's going to help any questions we have online. So let's throw the floor open. Does anyone have any questions on what you have seen? Or are you all scared by the AI? Yes. We have a question. Oh, Guy, there you go. Sorry. No, speak into it just like that. Just like that. So, Guy.
My name's Guy from Profusion. I'm a new reseller partner. A couple of questions. One, there's a lot of content creation and control within the platform there. And I was wondering whether you have any, we've got a few banking clients who are massively strong on permissions and sign-offs, particularly through legal. So is there any kind of tools or projects that you're going to be introducing where there can be sign-off stages within content creation?
Okay, very good.
And then just secondly, to add to that, are you looking at any kind of auto-generative AI content creation within your roadmap as well?
Okay, good question. So yeah, let's have that back. Thank you very much. So Martin, I'll come to you first, and I think for Guy, obviously the structure of creating content in campaigns is important for those. So do you just want to comment about that, and then I'll talk about where we're up to in that sort of permissions area?
Yeah, sure. I mean, we've got something called manual approvals, which you can build into a campaign. So basically, you can actually have a look at the content, the data before it goes out, and you can build that into the process. And as Matt showed earlier, we've got a very strong permissions framework that we've recently introduced. So basically, you can assign permissions to different users in your organization for creating campaigns or creating content, updating, deleting. So a really kind of enterprise grade permissions handling framework, I would say.
Excellent. Okay, so we don't have a workflow tool is the other answer. We don't have something that leads you through sign-up. I think I'll answer the AI question. We've seen lots of businesses in the industry use AI content generation, and we decided not to follow that as our first strategy. I imagine it will be something we look at, but there seems to be a bit of a meh reaction to AI content, and so we thought we could be more useful in what we're strongest at, which is the numeric and data structure. So we focused on that, and we haven't yet done anything about content. As we've tested extensively in our development work, you can get it to write jokes for you and tell you about animals and all sorts of things, but I'm not sure that's useful for marketing. Anyone else got a question in the room? Yes, Nick. There you go.
Nick from Wood for Trees, part of the Saliter Group.
Just hold it up.
An existing partner.
Yep.
One of the questions I had was around the orbit journeys. So one of the big things that a lot of our clients like about People Stage is being able to see where people are throughout their journeys.
Yep.
So it's catching that thing, like seeing that we've got this point in the journey where a lot of people are currently getting stuck. They're not moving on. Within the orbit journeys, I couldn't see anywhere where that's being handled. Is that something that's coming, or?
Yep. Martin or Matt, do you want to handle that? So this is reporting on the flow lines in an orbit journey.
Yeah.
If not, I can.
Yeah, I believe by hovering over certain nodes, you'll be able to see the kind of volume of people that are at those stages in the campaign, and that's something we'll continue to develop in the near term.
And Martin's really right there. It is something that Liz, I know one of our product managers is here, the campaign product manager is looking specifically at the flow lines beginning and end. Matt, do you just want to talk about your experience of running social campaigns? Have you seen tracking on the volumes that are used?
Yeah, I have. So you can track through the volumes, as Martin said, by hovering over. And you can also use the audiences to see your counts that are going through. So if you're using a responsive audience, then you would see the volumes going through within that audience and the counts.
Thank you very much. Nick, can I have that back? Thank you very much. It's a bit like a rugby ball gone wrong, isn't it? Let me just see if we got any online questions, Joe. Joe has his very own chuck ball, so I don't need to lob it to him.
Yeah, so we've just had a question online. They said you announced our Apteco Live that you're working on a CDP. What's the plan for this?
Good question. Aid, you covered the connection part for us. Would you comment just on where we're up to with the CDP?
Yeah, I can elaborate on that. I always like to say that we already have a CDP in place, but it really depends on your perspective on what you call a CDP. We can already create that holistic view of the data. At the moment, we can't really do the real-time import of data, so that's one of the things we're planning to do, is that expansion of allowing real-time information to be pulled in, or drip feed information to be pulled in through API connectivity. And that's really the direction we're heading in from that perspective. Oh, and we're also going to be implementing identity resolution as well, just so you can get a better idea of who those people are as they come in and be able to identify them better.
Perfect. And in fact, in timetable terms, we'll see in the roadmap, we're aiming at the first version of the CDP by November. So by the conference, we expect to be able to do some simple identity resolution, a standard data model that we can then feed in. Anyone else in the room got a question? Paresh, there you go.
Can you hear me all right?
Yep.
When you showed the ability to collect multiple data sources together to build your Orbit system, one example was a CRM system, I think it was Salesforce, wasn't it? Have you got any thoughts about bringing in some kind of a data health check? Because sometimes data quality isn't the best in CRM, and there may be missing information and stuff like that. So how do you know you're building a good, robust system?
Good question. Let's go to Mark first, because he can talk about how we can show data quality on a dashboard, and then we'll go to Aid, who's got experience of building very big systems. So Mark, do you want to just talk about how you might show data quality issues? You're familiar with those, I think.
Familiar, yes. Well, I mean, it's information at the end of the day. We're missing information, so using the same tiles and the same visuals or chosen visuals, the ones that best represent what you look at, you can actually spot these things quite well. We do that quite a lot here in the Benelux region with our customers. So yeah, I mean, loading it actually and then viewing it is actually the way to go to see what's missing. The actual hygiene part, adding data, of course, we don't do, but visualizing how good the data is in this case just another dashboard.
Okay, and Aid, do you want to just talk about some of your experience with crappy data?
Yeah, I wouldn't call it crappy data. It's just obtuse data, I suppose. So we can inbuild tolerance levels. So every time we do a build, we can compare a build by looking at variable by variable, and look at the stats across those variables to actually do a comparison between the previous build and the current build, just to work out whether there's any significant discrepancies. And based on those discrepancies, you can decide whether you want to carry on with a build or whether you want to alert somebody like an administrator of the system as to whether there's something odd going on, so they can then do something about it.
Okay.
There's actually an added advantage to that as well, because as the build goes through the system, that tolerance level can also be passed on to an end user. So you might be looking at maybe sales figures or something like that. So you can have that tolerance can be passed through, where you see if the sales figures look higher than normal or lower than normal, it could actually trigger a campaign or some sort of activity internally within the organization, assuming that the data is correct. Then it depends which way it's going.
Thank you. It's not a bad answer considering it's 10 to 2 in Australia, was it? In the morning. Christine, there you go.
Where does the lookalike data come from?
Good question. So we primarily do lookalikes. In fact, I've dived in and asked, I should be giving these guys the chance. We primarily do lookalikes within our own data sets, but sometimes our data set in Apteco includes third-party data that's been pulled in. As Aid's just been describing, we might pull in data. Mark, do you want to just talk about how we can use data overlays to do lookalikes on a data universe? Sorry.
Yeah, no, I mean, as you said, we're talking first-party or third-party data. So the audience that you're trying to find more of will always be directed back into one of those, depending if you have added a third-party source or if you're just looking within your customer database or your lapsed customers or your whole history of customers. So yeah, but that's where you would get them out. So it depends, again, if you have first or third-party data, or first only in this case.
Okay. Joe, have we got any more online questions?
Yes, I've got one probably for Mark. Why should I use an Apteco marketing platform dashboard rather than Tableau or Power BI?
always a fun one. Always a fun one. Never heard that one before as well. Well, I mean, it's use case. I mean, if we were going to compare, we could list everything or the whole day long. But I think what we can say safely is that we're at Apteco, we're very tuned into the marketing use case. That's where we sit, and you can really see that in the solution we offer and the tooling we offer. Things like Venn diagram, next best offer, recency, frequency. values. Things like this are very marketing based. So I think we're really attuned to that need. But additionally, I think what we've seen today is the whole end-to-end. The fact that the dashboards that we're comparing to a Tableau or another, it's one part of a whole thing, right? The selections we make in a dashboard, the audiences we choose, we can right away send to a campaign. We don't need to go and export the data from another database or involve anyone from IT or aggregate any data. It's all in the same system. So, at the end of the day, it's comparing the dashboards to Tableau, but I'd like to say we compare the whole system as a solution. I mean, that's what we're offering. And I guess one of the last things, and that's for the Dutch people online, it's the sharing as well. We offer free sharing to users within an organization. The word gratis or gratis in English is something we love very much in the Netherlands. We'll all sign up for that. So it's another advantage. So really, it's a whole solution rather than a one-on-one comparison.
Thank you. Jared is holding.
Can I chip in as well, James? Sorry.
Oh, yeah. Carry on.
Yeah. So it's a common problem that we find, particularly with clients and prospects that we're talking to at the moment, is that Tableau and Power BI actually draw data straight down from a SQL Server and Oracle environment, and the end users find it quite difficult or problematic to try and understand the attributes or actually find the attributes they're trying to find. And the beauty about Apteco is we have the data presentation layer where the information is collated into an orderly format and is actually presented in meaningful language, so it makes it a lot easier to actually build a dashboard or do any analysis, really.
Yeah, general users can find data easier. Jared.
Thanks, James. Jared Craig, hi. I've been on the Apteco journey for a long time, and we love where Apteco's going. Okay, one of the questions I've got with regards to going global is language support. What is Apteco's plan?
Good question.
To support multiple languages and then non-Latin languages as well?
Okay, non-Latin is hard, certainly. I'm going to turn to Matt because he's managing a project like that right now. So Matt, where are we up to with languages? Which one are you doing?
So we're currently working on French. It's essential for Quebec to be able to have Orbit in French. So the languages that we've already got, we'll be adding French in the very near future. We've started that project as we speak.
And yes, we have a French native speaker, actually of Algerian extraction, working as our first intern at Apteco Canada. Martin, do you just want to talk about language support? Obviously, you've gone through the whole process of getting an in-depth translation for Germany and the German-speaking market.
Yeah, we've got a fantastic process in place now, so everything's in German. And for every sprint, we have the software coming through Orbit every 2 weeks now, so there's a very kind of frequent update cycle, and we get the translations over from the UK team, and then we have native speakers here have a look at them and translate them in a very timely manner. And every sprint that takes place, we've got the German front end as well, so that serves Germany, Austria, and Switzerland. And the great thing is, once we've got French, we'll also be able to support the French part of Switzerland as well. Yeah. The French-speaking part of Switzerland.
French-speaking part, yes. We haven't handed it to France. I think given the time, I'm sorry, I've realised we've rather overrun. Can you just give a round of applause? And it was Aid who stayed up late, and Matt who got up early.
Good, thanks.
Fantastic, yeah. 10 to 2 in the morning for, in fact, 2 o'clock in the morning for Aid now. So a little bit about roadmap, and I'm going to fly through this because we can share this afterwards, but this is just an average day in the Apteco marketing office nowadays. We don't know what the future is going to be like. It might be like that, it might not. But our future, we want to talk to you about our future. We listen and we research user requirements all of the time. It's what the 3 product managers who are sat at the back of the room do. It's why they're here today, to listen to you, because we value your opinion and your research. We design, we prototype, we develop, we deliver, and we iterate the software so that it's always refining to make it more powerful and easier for you to use. We lead, we inform, and we guide our users. We're not afraid of standing up and saying we're prepared to be counted because we think we can contribute something to your operation. But we also review every user's wish Every week we have a wish list meeting on a Monday afternoon. We look at the wishes that have come in. We value those requests, and we dedicate Apteco to continuous improvement of what we deliver for you, whether you're a prospect, a partner, an agency, a brand. We dedicate ourselves to improving the software because we care that the platform works well for you, and that as a result, your marketing is more effective, your retention is better, your acquisition is better, and your revenues grow. That's what Apteco's commitment is about. In order to power our business into a global era, we have to have those values. And that means that we will be doing things like closing the loop around the data, bringing more power to the user interface, introducing that fantastic sneak peek you saw of the generative AI capability. And in each of our 3 teams, and you can talk to them if you're in the building afterwards, the product managers are here. So in the Connect team, for example, delivering our CDP version 1 by November, introducing identity resolution strategies, supporting Dynamics 365. We're already working on all of those things, looking at local database upload to the cloud, and extending our API to support row-level contribution, as was touched on in the panel discussion. In the Analyze team, extending those fantastic new target tiles. Didn't those tiles look great with red and green indicators, comparison with last year, out of the box, because those guys developed it. They realized the need, we put it into the product. That's the sort of work that we're doing, adding more visualizations all the way across audiences, all those 30 visualizations that you heard Mark talk about earlier. We're going to use those in the audience workbooks. So you've got a truly powerful analytic environment. We're going to put out of the box reporting for campaigning. So we're seeing the campaign team and the Analyze team working together to give those sorts of results. And this year particularly, we're going to focus on 2 things: RFV segments and a guided RFV process, and then improving our mapping so that we have more mapping, spatial visualization, while also doing that work on Gen AI. And then in the campaign team, extending those campaign sections to have the sort of additional controls I've spoken of, defining objectives and goals for campaigns so that when you have a section that completes a campaign, we can measure it. We can see what the revenue was, we can see what the result was, and then we can trigger campaign actions based on what individuals do. Both in the product and what they do on external systems, while producing reports on ROI and closing that loop all the way round. Now, on a recent day, on May the 4th, we made an announcement. Some of you might have seen this. Well, with R2-D2, John Williams' tune, Maurice Murphy's trumpet, all echoing in our ears. I know there's one person in the room who decoded that. They speak the Star Wars language. Yes, our conference this year will not be held in London. It will be held in Leicester, and it will be held at the National Space Centre on Exploration Drive. Believe me, when you've got a product called Orbit, it seems like the obvious place to go. When you find that they have a planetarium with a half sphere, a hemisphere projection capability, so we can put Orbit in front of you, behind you, above you, all around you. It's the most glorious environment. And we're going to invite you to join us at Apteco Live and also at our Apteco Partner Exclusive event at the National Space Centre in Leicester. Now, if you're thinking, crikey, Leicester's a long way from London, I'm going to make it easy for you. There's a direct train from King's Cross to Leicester, non-stop, 1 hour. When you get to Leicester, you're going to get off the train and you will find a bus labelled Apteco. And it's going to take you to the National Space Centre. And you know what we're going to call that bus? The shuttle. So please join us in person if you're an Apteco partner on Thursday, November the 14th in the evening for our dinner and briefing event at National Space Centre, and then in person and online on Friday, November the 15th in Leicester for Apteco Live, and online only the following Monday. So the usual sort of structure as recent days. But you can also see us at other places. Over the next 5 weeks, we're in 3 parts of the world. We're going in 10 days' time to Canada's largest digital marketing conference. It's called Social West. It's in Calgary. 750 paying delegates. I've discovered that on the agenda, I am presenting the keynote first thing Friday morning. Sounds great. In the main hall, 750 people, except they've just done the YMCA warm-up for the morning, and then I've got to follow that, so no pressure. We're then back into the UK to go to NHS Confed, the healthcare conference up in Manchester, 12th and 13th. And that's for the healthcare vertical. And then we're off to Australia for MASS, the Marketing Analytics Symposium, 27th of June. So this event is the first of 4 global launch events. What can you do now? Well, you can engage with us. Hopefully what you've seen is interesting, compelling. We've got members of the company at the back of the room. We've got members of the company online. So you can speak to us today. You can ask us a question online. You can speak to one of our fantastic partners, and you get Fletch dancing up in the office up in Warwick. You can speak to our commercial teams directly. We'll help you with trials and with tests. And you can do a free trial now. You can do a free trial on our data, so you don't have to upload anything. You can do a free trial on your data. You can do a free trial out of Salesforce. And those will allow you to test everything that you've seen. And we know that we push the buttons, those systems come alive for you. And that is some of the people who have produced what you've seen today. And I'm proud to be the one that stands up front. I have the privilege of presenting it. Some of them are at the back of the room. So I'd like to say thank you to all of them for all the hard work that has produced what you've seen today. It's truly a fantastic flow of features and capability. Thank you all. I appreciate your support and your work. So not only do we say thank you to the Apteco team, we'll say thank you to all of our speakers around the world. They got up early and they stayed up late for you. We'll say thanks to our Apteco marketing team. Liv and Joe are at the back. Mel's in the AV room behind there. We've got an amazing pile of kit that allows us to stream this to hundreds of people worldwide. She's helping call the show. So thanks, marketing team. You did a fantastic job promoting it. Thanks to our business development team, particularly for getting the people who are here today. It's hard these days to get people to leave home, to leave the office, to come to an event. Thanks to the team for doing that. Thanks to all 7 of the fantastic technicians from our AV and streaming partners who've run this. You may not have spotted it. There's a camera there. There's a camera at the back. There's a feed from the laptop. There's videos, the contributions from around the world. It takes a real effort. PSP are fab. And I'm happy to say that we recommend them because we've already booked them for the November event. So don't mind if you book them for something else. Most of all, I want to say thank you to you for attending, whether you're here in person or you're one of the hundreds of people online. Thank you for attending the Apteco Global Live event. That is the end of our live stream, and it's the close of our event in the cinema. We're now going to adjourn outside for food and drinks and a bit of networking and discussion. Thank you all very much for attending.